I think sometimes we don't see how far we already got with sometimes the little we have. I remember once when I was back in gymnastics, I had gone and competed at Commonwealth Games, and they asked me, "So how many hours do you train?" Told them three and a half.
Per day.
Only. They're like only. Like we train like 7 hours a day. I'm like, what? Like
It's practically
that
double.
exists. And like they told me, they're like, for the level you're at with that training only, like it's amazing. So we have so much to offer. Like Maltese athletes, we have the talent, we have the ability. It's just sometimes we need that bit of help. So like even nowadays, so for athletics, we don't have an indoor track. So we have the next couple of months. Tight, we have training today or is it going to rain?
Weather permitting.
So that's putting us throughout preseason. It's a very important time for to get better in the sport, to work more on the technicalities of it. We face a massive setback because we can't do it, unfortunately. So I think sometimes we have to see like, wow, considering everything we have gone really far. So even like the games we just had, I'm pretty sure almost all the countries have an indoor track. So,
Definitely.
and we still came up on top, considering, for example, we don't have that. That's just one thing to mention. Like,
The whole
so
system, like we lack. I think the problem is not talent. The problem is not
No,
not
definitely
having
not.
athletes to perform. The problem is the whole system around it. So,
And it requires a mentality shift, right?
exactly.
Because in
Definitely.
Malta, we're often seeing sports as a hobby. That is a
Exactly.
recurring theme. It is not seen as
Exactly.
something that can be done professionally.
Definitely. I think it's the whole mentality. And um, me myself being a student athlete for 5-6 years. I mean, in university, I was always a student athlete from a young age, but at university and at post-secondary level, our education system doesn't work hand in hand with having another career. And that's a huge problem because in Malta, as an athlete, I can't afford to be an athlete on a full-time basis because no one will pay me in my sport.
In most sports.
In most sports.
So it's
So we need to have another career, but then if the educational system doesn't help you balance out both careers, then it's very hard for athletes to succeed. So apart from the mentality, it's the whole
system.
system which needs to change, which needs to improve and understand that sport can be a career in itself.
That pretty much applies for every sport in Malta, I think.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I wouldn't have ever had the option of doing what I do professionally here and making a living of it. Like that is not even a
and
choice.
it's really
practically.
sad. It's
It
so
is
sad because
It
even, for
is.
example, nowadays, okay, my job is in the afternoon, so I go train in the morning on my own. Sometimes more without a coach. So it's literally just out of passion. I go, you don't get paid or whatever, and then, oh, but why aren't you coming to training? I need to live somehow. I need to go
You need to
work.
sustain
Like,
yourself.
so it's very sad that there isn't that support for athletes. Because yes, the student life is really hard, the student athlete, but at the same time, you're like, okay, I'm still a student. There's my mom and dad.
Well, yeah.
So, but then when you start working, that's when things become just like, I'm this year. I'm telling you, I spent the whole year training mostly alone. My mom coming and taking videos of me to send them to my coach.
Ah, wow.
So it is very difficult, and there has to be some sort of change to try and help these athletes. Because then, why is it that so many athletes stop at such a young age? Because they cannot do otherwise sometimes. Recently, I had someone, they told me, but you have to choose, like, now. I told them, no, I don't want to. Like, I want to see how I'm going to, like, try and balance everything out. But it's very, very difficult.
And it's not just you, as you mentioned. Let's say you do get paid to train full time and you can train morning and evening. If your coach is not paid to be with you on a full-time basis,
Then that's also
that's also an issue. So with a sport like ours,
Exactly.
at least, if in the mornings, because I even train twice a day, if in the mornings I can do certain strength and conditioning work that he gives me, etc., I am old enough and I have the experience to do them alone. And then in the evening, I can do the technical work with him watching me. But obviously, it would be much more beneficial if my coach is with me all the time. But my coach has to work in the mornings.
It's a whole
Because he's
system
on,
thing.
you know, it's
There's no like there's not like an easy way out of
there's
it.
exactly. It's like, you know, the whole. I think we have come far. So
Definitely. And we're not disputing that. But if you had to
Exactly.
if you had to suggest one thing, how can we actually make this better? How can we actually better the system to actually support athletes to pursue their sports as a full-time career? How do you imagine this happening?
A project, like a whole project coming,
Massive
a
project.
big one. And like we might not even like we might be old, too old to
might not even be
experience.
alive.
Literally.
This was our idea.
No, it's true though. Like if you think about it.
I always mention that it has to start
From school.
at
From
schools
that's
and
where it
at
has to start.
primary, at kindergarten level. We cannot have our schools teaching Maltese every day and PE once every 2 weeks. That is showing clearly that academics are more important than an academic that an academic career is more important than any other career. We're talking about sports because we're all involved in sports, but there's drama, there is singing, there's the
Arts,
arts,
exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
So anything beyond academics in our schools is considered as a second option, as
And if I
something on
might
the side
just jump in, Malta actually has the highest rate of obesity in children.
as well.
So
Obviously, because we're teaching our young that, listen, if you do sports once every 2 weeks, it's enough as long as you're sitting down for the rest of the day in class, you know, paying attention to what the teacher is saying. So it has to start from there. Once we start changing that mentality and, you know, kids grow up loving sports and loving other things, you know, like as we mentioned, the arts. And then as they grow up, you know, the system will improve, hopefully. And at our level, then you can have athletes training on a full-time basis.